When darkest moments come, that means we're probably near the end of the tunnel. And today, in this video, I'm going to talk about 6 altcoins that has gone through a pretty dark period recently and probably near the end of their accumulation, meaning their moon trip may be near. If you're new to my sessions, these are the 3 key items I'll cover during the session. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm sharing my views, my observations, and my personal opinions. So if you are trying to invest, always consult your professional licensed financial advisor. Let's start with the weekly chart of the very first one, FET, Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance. So previously, we already discussed that it's going through a testing period after the selling climax and second test, the early stages of accumulation cycle in the Wyckoff method. Now, it's still going through the test. It's basically a prolonged period of testing, whether there are paper hands still remaining or is it mainly diamond hands that are holding the FET. If it's mainly diamond hands, there's no way the price can go further down. If it really settles above this red key level of 0.19, when we're seeing these volume coming down, especially in terms of red candles and red volume bars, that's a positive sign. What's next, or what's better, is that while the test may continue, we hope to see the price to come up with some long white volume bars like what we had in the beginning of November, but then also candlesticks that comes up to challenge the 0.98, the 98-cent blue key level, because that's where the automatic rally happened, back in May this year. So when the price comes up to challenge this level with volume support, that means it's the very first sign of strength that advanced with volume. Okay, this one was basically a bounce that you can say is a sign of strength, but it's not strong enough in my view. It didn't even challenge the blue key level, so I might have as well drop this, not to confuse you. So here, that's the big picture of it. We're expecting this to happen. After that, the price may retrace or even go lower than the current test level. It can be a spring that goes lower than the red key level. However, it's still too early as of this stage. When we get to the daily chart, after going through the other 5 altcoins, we'll see more detail as to whether there are any breakout timing associated with each of these coins if they are in a downtrend. Next is Jasmy. Similarly, it's going through a testing period. Paper hands, diamond hands test. It looks like it's stabilizing, around the 0.008. One thing that worries me is that these wicks from the top, when the price try to reach above the 0.008, they are being pushed back down to where it closed on the middle of November. So let's hope that it's not going to go further south, but what's indicated here is there's still a potential. And the support level over here is the bottom edge of this long-term playground zone. This zone is tracking for a prolonged period of time, in this case for Jasmy, from 2021 till now. Where are the levels? Or this is like a bottom during the period of accumulation back in 2003. Alright, of course there's an intermediate level over here at around 0.005. We are still a bit away from that, but not too far away. Okay, the price can definitely come down to around 0.005 looking at what happened over the past 2 weeks, including this week. Okay, so the hope is the same. An advancement with volume for a sign of strength to happen. For this case, for Jasmy, better challenge above the yellow key level of 0.021. Now, let's go to near. NEAR has gone through a very different period. So this horizontal trading or sideways trading area, it has basically came up multiple times to test this white dashed line at around $3.23-24. That's where the automatic rally set. Okay. The only time that we see that can be truly considered a sign of strength was 3 weeks ago, around the beginning of November. It came up with significantly higher volume compared to the other two before. Right? So it's supposed to be stronger and a good sign for a sign of strength. Also, this red bar over here during mid-October, we know what happened during October, what's been announced. But then the buying is pretty strong over there, even though the price went down. Quite some long wicks from the bottom across those weeks. Now that the price spread is lower, and as well the volume, we hope that this is the end of it. Even if it comes down for a spring, meaning testing for a lower level to do the final shakeout of the paper hands, the next sign of strength shouldn't be too far away. Alright, so this was what happened back in October 2023. It came all the way to the bottom of the long-term playground zone. That's around $1. Alright, that can happen. But right after that, it came up for a sign of strength and then a bit of retracement, also another shakeout after this dip. And that's where the price got pushed to the new buying climax, the peak of the distribution cycle. Alright, so if this happens the same way, history may not repeat exactly, but if they rhyme, then this may be the moment. Alright, so expect there's still downside risk, but the upside, let's hope it's getting closer and closer. Okay, and after NEAR, that's PYTH. PYTH hasn't gone through as much of sign of strength, but this one was pretty impressive back in August. However, after that, it has been seeking lower and lower levels. As of this moment, we have these two levels. Both, there's no reference from the very early days because PYTH is pretty new, and what's pointing here is that during the week of the tariff announcement, there were some levels set around these two white dash line. The lower one is around 5 cents. This one higher, currently serving at as the resistance, is at around 75 cents. 0.075. That one was basically around 5 cents. So this 7.5 cents line is preventing the price to go up as of this moment. So this test is still continuing. Remember the paper hands, diamond hands test. This is also happening to PYTH. So the tests will continue, and the hope is the same. For PYTH, we wanted to come up and challenge the 19 cents level, much like what it did during August, like I said just now. So again, advance with volume, long volume bar. That's what we would like to see. All right. Next is Rose. Rose, similarly, the test comes to a pretty low level. There wasn't really a clear sign of strength, so we're still waiting for that to happen. So Rose is a little bit different. When it comes up, again, combining with volume, it should at least challenge the 0.043 green key level. That's, we consider really that's a sign of strength. Okay? Last but not least, then we'll get to the daily charts of each of these projects. Virtual just did a sign of strength. The volume was pretty impressive. However, we know these kind of shaking activities, just like you go to buy French fries or chips from a particular franchise where they give you some diamond powder to shake with your fries. That's what it is now. The big guys are shaking all the paper hands out. So this is obviously a test that's the virtual is going through. So the 65% chance of continuous test remains until the point we see a significant sign of strength again, and that if that leads to back up in the last point of support, meaning it went higher and then traced back, that's probably get to the very close of it. Sometimes the shape and form may differ. However, it is more common than not that marks the end of accumulation. Alright, so while there can still be downside risk over here, the volume has been gradually declining. Even though this week it rise a little, the price spread isn't too big. So hopefully we're getting close to the end of paper hands and diamond hands shakeout. So now let's get back to the daily chart and see what additional information we can get from the price actions. So last week, or in the previous session for FET, I shared that it's basically going through a horizontal trading period, or this air hockey table. Alright, this light blue box. So the price will bounce between the ceiling and the bottom of the box, and currently if this declining peak is a trend, obviously today has confirmed that this trend is over and it's trading in a mini sideways trend. Okay, so assuming it's going to bounce up and challenge the orange key level at around 34 cents, best, like similar to the weekly chart, it comes up to challenge the ceiling of this blue box, even better, challenging the yellow key level of 49 cents. That's what we hope to see. Though the volume is still low. Alright, if you look at the bottom, let me show you this. Yeah, it's still very low, even if I turn it to a log chart. The absolute, we want the absolute to climb. Next is Jasmy. Jasmy, interesting. Okay, there's not much going on because this downtrend has been going on for quite a while. Let's borrow this blue box across. So again, this air hockey table where the price bounces. Alright. Currently, it's still within this downtrend that's started, somewhere around mid-August. It's seemingly edging towards the stronger side of the channel, or the air hockey table, which is a relieving sign. That means if it continues to trade on this stronger side, it will eventually get closer to a breakout opportunity. So the volume has declined from these high levels, and we are seeing quite a number of wicks pushing the price up from the bottom. To the left, there are some references. So let's borrow this line and draw it to the current level and extend to the left and see why we are taking a breath over here. So if we look to the left, we see there are quite a number of candlesticks finding support or resistance in the past period. All right, during the 2002-2003 mega accumulation. Okay, you see these resistance. So that's why we're taking a pause now. All the wicks, when they got close to these lines, started from November 21st, they kind of found support. So if this continues, that's a good sign So this means it points to somewhere near the end of the year that it can have the very first opportunity to break outside of this downtrend. Of course, if in the next 2 days, if it really gets some very good news, it can break out by the end of the week. But that's not a likely scenario. Not that I know any insider news, but if you do, and that news is that crazy, congratulations. Jasmy exited the downtrend earlier than what it seems to be, because currently it's still, even though it's on the stronger side, it is still around the center line. So I am conservatively optimistic about this at the moment. Okay, so what if it's the pessimistic scenario that's going to play out? Then the next opportunity will come at near the end of January or around early February. Are there any intermediate levels other than this one we are seeing at 0.0065? Yes, certainly. If we look to the left, we see this particular level where those dips stopped. Okay, this is definitely a level we should pay attention to if the pessimistic scenario happens. Alright, that's pointing to around 0.0047. Okay, if the price really comes down further, that's pointing towards the 20th of January. Okay, after the year end or year beginning of 2006, about the third week of Jan, that's the next opportunity for it to break outside of this downtrend. Let's hope it does it around this year end or the beginning of next year. At least continue to trade sideways. But if it goes up, like I shared multiple times to show us a sign of strength. Then near daily chart shows this downtrend is probably over. Okay, after that particular day on the 2nd. What I want to do is to draw this line over here. That's the near-term support. Alright. This is currently at around $1.6. So if this continues to find support like today, there was quite a bit of buying from that point. However, the volume isn't that high yet. So even on Tuesday, the volume, likewise. We want to see higher volume on these days with white candlesticks. So the only good news for now is that it has exited the previous short-term downtrend that started in November. Alright, so we hope to see sign of strength coming. Okay, at least challenge this white dash line level at around $3.24. Okay, then PYTH. PYTH is a little bit slower. Okay, it's still trading around this weaker side of the air hockey table. The test will still continue. The current level, we don't have any reference on the left side, so let's hope it continues with this near-term support, even though it's not very strong. Alright, because what happened was last week we've drawn this line that seemingly provided support for 4 days, but then it dropped on Monday. And currently there are 5 candlesticks finding support at this level of 0.067 roughly. If it continues like what it did over there, because the volume isn't really very low, it has gone up and come down, gone up and come down, so maybe there are still some paper hands around. Assuming that's the selling climax, there may be an automatic rally going back to challenge the 0.09 level. However, if it hasn't finished yet, so if it's going to come down further, which is totally possible, this level of 0.048 that was set by October 10th is the other support level that PYTH can rely on. So test will continue. I just want to tag second test over there. Alright, assuming the silent climax is there, it comes up for automatic rally, then comes down for second test. That means the test will continue. Okay, spring may or may not happen every time, so just parking it here. Rows. So for rows here, again, it's time to make some adjustment just to confirm it has finished or exited the downtrend. Alright, it broke to the downside, started November the 8th, and continue with this trend, missing the opportunity to break out on the 28th. Alright, now it finally successfully gone outside of that area. If we look to the left, it's not too far from where the October 10th set. So October 10th set it at around 1 cent. To the far left, there's not much. Okay, here. If this continues, yesterday was pretty encouraging, even though the price was slightly down. The wick from the bottom plus the volume was quite encouraging. However, today kind of reversed what happened yesterday. So, like I said, okay, the game between paper hands and diamond hands, or like the big guys with those two group of people, is still going on. But the good sign is, if it doesn't go further below than this 1 cent 25 level, it's time to take a deep breath and hope the sideways continue and eventually get to show us a sign of strength. Virtual. Okay, sign of strength, not yet, but automatic rally happened. If this was the selling climax, obviously we had the second test already, and also a subsequent test as well. Similar to Rose, it's not very certain yet because the volume has still, or is still fluctuating compared to the lows here. These couple of days were pretty high. What we're hoping for is that we're going to see a sign of strength. Best to challenge the yellow key level. Alright. This yellow key level is around $1.15. Okay, that's what we want to see as a first step, even though if the test is going to continue. This is key. The very first sign that people are changing minds, they're not panicking anymore, they're getting in. Alright, so that's all the 6 projects that are basically near the end of the tunnel, and hopefully we'll see some strong buy-in very soon to confirm that they are really getting close to the next distribution cycle. Thanks for joining me. See you in future sessions.